Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Sleep When I'm Dead Book Club live show for the book Malice House. As you can tell, Keisha's with me, and I'm so excited because I feel like I asked you like so long ago, and like, yes, we're finally here to discuss this book. It
Yes.
makes me so freaking happy. But everyone in the chat or the comment section, make sure you like let us know if you've read the book, I guess like your overall star rating and stuff like that. And Keisha, if you want to introduce yourself and what you like to read, your channel, and all that stuff.
Yeah. So, hello. If you don't know me, my name is Keisha, and I'm from the channel A Book Like You. I also go by the same name on Instagram, and I post a lot of like TBRs, vlogs, like basic booktube content. I like to read a little bit of everything, but mostly I think I gravitate towards like thrillers, some horror, and spooky middle grade is kind of something I'm really into also. So, but I do read a little bit of romance and other things too.
Awesome. Yeah, I kind of felt like because you had sent me quite a few books and I saw this one, I was like, I feel like this one would be the best one that Keisha's gonna like. So I hope I picked out of the list that you sent me a good one, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, but if anyone's coming over from Keisha's channel or if you just stumbled upon this live show, my name is Jessie. My channel is Reading with Jess. I do a lot of like thriller and romance reads, but I'm trying this year to get out of my comfort zone a little bit, a little at a time. But I do basic YouTube book content as well, like Keisha said. And this is my live show that I do once a month. We read, I used to do only backlist thrillers, but this year I wanted to try newer releases. And I think this one released in November, I think.
Yeah, it was fall of last year.
Yeah, fall-ish. So I'm excited. But yeah, let's see who's all in the chat. And of course, this book club will be saved on my channel. So if anyone is not able to stay the whole time, you can come back, it'll be saved. But I also want to let you know that I do have the author's information in the Discord, which is linked down below. So you can join the Discord channel where we chat about the book throughout the month before the live show. And also you'll find links to Keisha's channel. So that way you can go subscribe to her if you're not already, which you totally should. So but Gwen's here. She's been waiting for this all day.
Hello.
Summer's here. I'm like really curious to hear Summer's comments because I have a feeling she liked it, but
Yeah.
I don't know too much. Yes, we do have our
Yeah.
merch on. Keisha's got the t-shirt. I've got the
Yeah.
pullover. Makes me so freaking happy. Liked it way more than I thought I would. 4 stars. Awesome. And then Gwen's counter offering that, saying giving it 2 stars. Love the atmosphere and the writing was good too. I just didn't like the speculative element. Interesting. We'll definitely be diving into that. Read in October. It was 4 stars for her. So I guess it came out in October, not November.
Yeah.
So hello. Hi, Tyra. 3 stars. It was too fantastical and long for me. Okay. Okay. Finished it yesterday, and I think it was a 3.5 or 4 star for me. Okay, I can handle that. Read back in November and actually loved it. 5 stars. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did.
That's good.
Hello. Look at that profile photo.
Mhm.
4 stars for me. It was kind of weird. It was the kind of weird that I was craving. Okay. I love the wording of that. That's funny. I think it was a 3 star for me. 4, I really like speculative thrillers and horrors. Okay,
Mm.
very interesting. So it sounds like most of the people in the comments have read this one, so that makes me happy. 3.5, maybe a 4 star for me. Okay. Well, Keisha, would you like to describe the book or like read the synopsis? Of course, keeping it
Yes.
spoiler free for this section.
Yeah. So I feel like it's easy for me after reading it to
Yeah,
say spoilers by accident. So I'm just going to read the synopsis.
that works.
So this will just tell everybody that doesn't know what it's about. Okay. Of all the things aspiring artist Haven Marbury expected to find while clearing out her late father's remote seaside house, Bedtime Stories for Monsters was not on the list. This secret handwritten manuscript is disturbingly different from his Pulitzer Prize winning works. Its interweaving short stories crawl with horrific monsters and enigmatic humans that exist somewhere between this world and the next. The stories unsettle, but also entice Haven, practically compelling her to illustrate them while she stays in the house that her father warned her was haunted. Clearly, just dementia whispering in his ear, right? Reeling from a failed marriage, Haven hopes illustrated bedtime stories can be the lucrative posthumous father-daughter collaboration she desperately needs to jumpstart her art career. However, everyone in the nearby vacation town wants a piece of the manuscript. Her father's obsessive literary salon members, the ink drinkers, the mysterious yet charming neighbor who has a tendency toward 3 a.m. bonfires, a young barista with a literary forgery business, and of course, whoever keeps trying to break into her house. But when a monstrous creature appears under Haven's bed right as grisly deaths are reported in the nearby woods, she is forced to confront dark, otherworldly family secrets, completely rewriting everything she ever knew about herself in the process. Dun dun dun. You're still muted, Jesse.
I said could have said it better myself or read it better
Right,
myself.
right.
So. But yeah, so very eerie in my opinion. I love the
Mhm.
whole, like, I guess like before I read it, I was like, ooh, like I don't know. I felt like the whole like illustrating her father's books, Seaside Town, Mysterious
Mhm.
People, um, sounded great for me. So
Yeah.
um read it when it first came out, 3.5 stars. Wish they had pictures and the ending went on too long. I
I
agree
think seeing pictures would have been really cool.
because it kind of gave me that like did you read Hidden Pictures by Jason Rakulak?
No, but I was spoiled for it because I probably
Oh,
wouldn't like it, but I know what it yeah, so I know the pictures and stuff, yeah.
yeah. I feel like this book gave me those vibes a little bit, and I felt like the pictures would have just been perfect. It didn't have to be as
Yeah.
many pictures as that other book, but dang, I hate you were spoiled because I loved that book.
Well, I was spoiled because somebody thought I wouldn't like it, and I'm glad I was spoiled because I probably wouldn't have, just
Mm,
being honest.
okay. That sounds okay. That makes
So it's
sense.
okay.
So the first few questions will definitely be spoiler free. So if anyone has not read the book and they want to read it, this section is for you. But if you want to be spoiled or if you've read the book, we will definitely get more into the nitty gritty. Um, but I generally have my guests or my co-hosts pick the buddy read for the month. And Keisha had sent me several books. I kind of forgot what the other books were, but we
I
both
did too.
agreed on I'll have to go back and check. I'm actually really curious. But we both agreed on Malice House. So why was this on your list? And have you read anything else by this author?
Yeah. So Malice House was on my list because I had a few friends read it and I'd seen it kind of floating around and it seemed to be getting some pretty good ratings. And also, like, one of the biggest draws for me was like the blurb at the top of before you get to the synopsis said that it was well, complex tale of dark magic and family secrets that emerge when a woman attempts to settle the estate of her father, an acclaimed horror novelist. And what that initially, just that first line reminded me of was Home Before Dark, just from reading the synopsis by Riley Sager. So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, I loved Home Before Dark. And this is like the whole, like the daughter's going to her deceased father's old home. It's different setup for the story, but
Yeah.
it's similar in kind of a
Yeah.
way. And so I was like, "Oh, I loved that. So I really wanna read this." So
Yeah.
that's honestly what made me excited to read it. And then also, I have not read anything from this author, but I was familiar with her previous work because I've had friends read other things by her, but I had not read anything yet. So
Yeah. I haven't read anything either by that author. I've heard her name floating around. Is she more like a YA author?
I think so, yeah.
Okay. That's probably why I haven't read it, to be
Yeah, like The
honest.
Madman's Daughter, I think is the one that I knew about,
Okay.
and I think that's YA.
Yeah. And I had also seen a bunch of people talking about this one, friends that we're friends with on YouTube, people on Instagram and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I think the cover's gorgeous.
Yeah.
And it was one of those books I was like, I really want to read that book, but like I don't. But I never even read the synopsis. Like the cover just kept catching my eye, and I was like, I
Mhm.
need to read this book, but like I don't want to read the book. And then you present, I was like, okay, this is a sign I have to read this book because Keisha wants to read it. So that's what.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let us know in the comments if you guys have also read anything else by this author as well. I saw a few more comments. Same, really wanted pictures, 4 stars, another 4-star. I feel like a 4, 3.5 is like the average so far in the chat. Thank you for being here. 3 stars. Based on this book, will you read other books by her, backlist or new releases in the future? Ooh.
I feel like we should save that question till the end because that could spoil some thoughts, right?
Yes. So we're going to save our final star rating towards the end. So I will also put a note at the end if we will continue to pick other books. So will you read other books? Okay.
Because that's a great question.
Yeah. I think it's a great question. And if I did not put it on my notes, I will forget. So I'm glad you stopped me because I was getting ready to just like blurt out my answer. But yeah, I think that's a good one.
Yeah.
I might have to keep the question for future book club picks. Would have been 4.5 if they had added some pictures and wrapped up the ending a little sooner. Thought they added fluff just to make it a 400-page book and have recommended this book. Yeah, I think the pictures would have definitely bumped up a lot of people's ratings.
Yeah.
First book by this author. I don't think I've read any other books by this author. Yes, I will read more from this author. Any recommendations? Perfect. Okay. The next question I have, without giving spoilers, obviously, this book definitely fits into multiple genres. What genres would you say?
Basically, the top 2 same ones that Goodreads kind of pitches it as. So, like horror and fantasy.
Yeah, I put horror and fantasy as well. And I also put cozy just because of the scene or like the setting, I guess. I don't know. Like I'm not
cozy?
Okay. Like
What's cozy to you, Jesse? A haunted house?
I mean, maybe.
Oh my goodness, I love it.
Also like fairy tale in a way. I'm not sure if that's an actual genre, but like I really liked the setting. And that's like one of the questions we'll get into sooner. I felt like the setting, like the coastal town was very cozy in a way, like in a dark way, but we'll see. Pictures would have been amazing. I say dark horror and dark fantasy. I agree. Yeah. Gothic literature. Yeah, I can see that. I would agree with Gwen. Cozy horror fantasy. I got the vibes, Jesse. Yeah. Gothic folklore story as well. Yeah, I agree. And my favorite question to ask, but my least favorite question to get asked is if you had to describe this book in 3 words, what words would you use?
I wrote my words down so I wouldn't forget. Okay. So atmospheric, haunting, and twisted are the 3 words I think I would use.
I also used atmospheric, but I used slow and trippy in a way.
Yeah.
Because there was some moments I was like, wait, what is happening?
I like it. Yeah.
Excuse me. Went down the wrong pipe there. Do you think there's any triggers that people should know before reading this book?
So I think the biggest one is probably like death or death of a loved one. And then there's like some other stuff, like if you don't like some gore, I wouldn't say it's like overtly gory, but there is some gore. There are very small mentions of certain things like domestic violence, but it's not mentioned. I would just say, like, if it's a big trigger for you, even in small portions, it's not a huge part of the book, but it's mentioned.
Yeah.
And like animal violence, but you don't really see it. Yeah. But it's a very small, like, mention of it.
Yeah, like it was in the past type of sort of like, yeah, I agree. Those were, I was going to say domestic violence, animal abuse, a little bit of gore and like creepiness. And like, I don't know if you're scared of the dark or things living under your bed. I don't know if that's a trigger for you or not, but we'll go with that.
I feel like it was pretty good not having anything too overtly triggering, in my opinion. So
agreed. I'm with Jess. Cozy to me, like Daisy Darker, or I was gonna say Cackle as well.
Y'all are some dark people.
I think it honestly, if it didn't take place, like if it took place in the middle of nowhere, I don't think it would be cozy. But because
the town was kind of cozy, but in a like darker way. I get it.
Like, yeah, exactly. Good words, Keisha. Love those, Jesse. Creepy, dark, cray. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that one. Dark, wild, creepy. Oops.
Yeah.
Welcome to the dark
Oh
side,
my gosh.
Keisha. Okay, so this question was actually submitted by someone in Discord. It's Lena. I know she's not here because she teaches dance on Thursdays. But her question that she asked in Discord is, what book would you recommend to people who liked Malice House, and what would you recommend to those who did not like Malice House?
Okay. I feel like I have the perfect answer for this. And I
Okay.
was hesitant to share it because I didn't. Well, I'm not going to say that no, because then it's just going to be more obvious, but I'm going to show it anyways. Okay. So I read this book 4 or 5 years ago
Okay.
and I loved it. Okay. And this book at one point or another reminded me of it, but it's The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. Okay.
That was mine.
It's so obvious though.
Yeah, it is very
Like,
obvious.
because sorry that I stole it, but hey, we're on the same page, so that's
Yeah.
pretty cool. But yeah, it's a YA like dark fairy tale-esque type fantasy.
Hmm.
About this girl who her and her mom have kind of like always been on the run their whole life from this bad luck that seems to follow them. And her grandmother actually wrote these really dark fairy tale stories. And one day her grandmother dies and her mom ends up going missing, or being taken potentially. And it's speculated that maybe it's she's been taken by a character from her grandmother's dark fairy tale stories. And her mom, when she's taken, leaves this note that I think her name's Alice.
I think it
Yeah, that's
is.
what her name is. Okay. Tells Alice, don't go to the Hazelwood because that's where her grandmother lived. And she's like, don't go there. Well, obviously, Alice goes there and is trying to figure out kind of where all of this started with her family and what's going on. So, definitely like very, very similar vibes from both books and
Yeah.
things, even though
Mhm.
it's not the same story, very similar. So,
Yeah, exactly.
that if you liked it, that's what I would pick.
Mhm. Yeah.
Do you want
What
me
if
to
you
go?
Yeah, what if you
Okay.
did well, since you stole mine, I
I'm
can't.
sorry. You're probably going to say this too.
Yes, I was.
Sorry. Would you want to talk about this one since we're on the same
Sure.
page?
I love this book. So, if you were looking for like a atmospheric, possibly haunted house, with a like book mentioned, I think this would be perfect. And it's one of those things where like you kind of question like, is the house haunted based on what the book says? Is it not haunted? And I love this book because literally every other chapter, it's like in the past, in the present. I was literally
Mhm.
flip flopping. I was like, this house is haunted. No, it's not haunted. This house is haunted. So, and I feel like it has a good twist at the end. But this one is about a character whose father wrote this book about the house that they lived in when she was a very small child that she has no memory of. I think they lived in there for like less than 2 months, maybe like 21 days, maybe.
Mhm.
And the house was haunted. And one night they just got up and left and they never came back to the house. So she has always lived in the book's shadow. She doesn't remember anything that happened. She thinks her dad made it up. Well, her dad passes away and he leaves her the house. So now she's going back to the house, very similar to this one, to basically sell it, and also try to figure out, was it haunted, was it not, but you get
Mhm.
chapters of the book that her dad wrote.
Yeah.
So I love this book. So
Yeah. I do too. And I feel like it's like if you expected this from that one and didn't get it, like this is where, I don't
yeah,
know, it's like different, it goes different ways. So,
yeah, exactly.
but
It's so funny that we thought of the same two books. That
well,
is
it was just like the
hilarious.
obvious answers. I was like, I don't know if I could even pull anything else that like would even remind me.
Yeah.
I don't
I
know.
know Gwen, this Gwen had I think she read like 3 books in a row where it was about someone going to their parents' house to like sell it, clean it out, find out.
Yeah. How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix.
Yeah, there was also that, Love and Times of
Love in
Serial
the Time of
Killers.
Serial Killers.
Yeah, there was that one, and then there was another one that she's like, I have literally read the same setup
I
3
do
months.
like that setup though.
Yeah, I do
Especially if it's
too,
like a
and
haunted
that's
house.
why again, I was like, this is giving me like Home Before Dark vibes in a way. So I was like, hopefully it goes that like it's good. So I'm
Yeah.
very excited. Oh, she actually put her answer. If you liked Malice House and
Good.
have read House Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. Yeah. I knew that one, but I hadn't read it. So I didn't want to recommend it and people hate it. So let's see. Would love to visit the bookstore and cafe in town owned by the Ink Drinkers. Yeah. Right. I would recommend the writing retreat because it follows writers as well and gets wild. There you go. I would also say Hidden Pictures, even though I feel like they're
Yeah.
very different, but for some reason I got the same vibes in a way. Um, I think if you like this, you might try Fairy Tale by Stephen King, only because it's fantasy horror. So yeah, I agree with that. I have read Fairy Tale by Stephen King, and if you like this fantasy horror, I agree with Angel. That would be a good recommendation.
Yeah.
Um, recommend Just Like Home by Sarah Gailey. It has the same daughter returning home from her father's passing trope. So
I have thoughts, but I'll wait. Okay.
on that book,
Yeah, no, I haven't read that book, but I wanna read that book, but I'm not gonna
Mhm.
say things yet because
I
I'll say
DNF'd
it.
it, but I only read the first chapter and I was like, I don't think I'm in the mood for this. So I picked up a romance.
I can't say what I wanna say yet because I don't wanna spoil my thoughts yet, so I'm
Okay.
gonna wait.
Yeah. We'll wait till spoilers on that.
So I'll come back to it.
Good comparison summer. I still need to read that, Gwen. And yeah. Okay. Let's see. And so that is all the spoiler free questions I have. So if anyone does not want to be spoiled, if they haven't finished the book, or, this is your sign to move, come on back when you finish. But if you want to stay, it's a party. I have some really good questions, I think, to go over. So we are moving to spoilers. So one thing I noticed in the beginning of this book was the setting and how atmospheric was. How would you describe those things?
So I think just like a very foggy coastal town. Um, it also like the atmosphere of that reminded me of a spooky middle grade book, The Haunting of Avalon Jones. Imagined kind of similar atmospheres. And then of course, like I don't know, I could just imagine like fog rolling through the town in general. I think Gwen and I talked about the fog
Yeah.
a little bit. But it's just like, I don't know, that's what I imagine. I love the bookstore that it was
Mhm.
made from an old bank and how
Oh,
they still had like the desks or whatever in front, like the checkout was the same desks from like the bank, and that they had the vault in the back where it was like their storeroom and all that stuff. I just think that was really interesting. But yeah, just very ominous and dark, and
yeah.
the forest was
Oh,
like
yeah.
really
Yeah. The
haunting.
forest. Um, yeah, like you said, Gwen mentioned that she loves like the fog and like when I picture Gwen, I feel like sunshine and like 85. And when I went to go visit
Yeah.
her a couple months ago, she's like, my favorite weather is fog. And I was like, who likes fog? And she was
What a
just
weirdo.
okay, I get it. I get it. But I was just like, I was not expecting that from you. But when
Yeah.
she was reading it, she was mentioning fog, and I didn't notice the fog until she said it. And I was like, okay, I can like picture fog now. So,
Yeah.
um,
I don't like
I
fog
would,
because you can't see through it.
that's true. That's
It's
true.
it's like what's in there.
It just sets the tone in a way of like the unknowing future.
Yeah.
I put my favorite that the setting was my favorite part. It had that small coastal town with a few interesting townspeople. I love the ominous feeling that the father's house gave as well, like the porch that overlooked, and it had that
Oh,
creepy
yeah.
attic in a way. So I loved that. Um, the bank turned bookstore, yes,
Mhm.
please. Gwen, foggy coastal towns are my bread and butter. Interesting. I had checked out How to Sell a Haunted House and I put it down. I'll read it in the fall. Wasn't feeling it in February. Eh, I need to do an entire podcast episode of books with this
Yeah.
atmosphere. You're going to do it with me in 2024. Nice. There's a restaurant nearby, in a nearby town, formerly a Wells Fargo Wachovia, and they turned the vault into a wine cellar instead of a break room.
Yeah, I
Ooh.
wonder where that's at because there's one I think there's one no, never mind. I was thinking there was one near me or, like, in Nashville, but I think maybe it was just I heard somebody talking about it, so I may be confused. But where I wonder where that is because
Yeah,
that's
let us
interesting.
know. I guess you could say what state, unless you feel like saying
Yeah.
your city or wherever city it is. I meant to tag you at ponytails and paperbacks. um, okay, pacing. How would you describe this book as far as the pacing and why? And you could just slow, medium, fast, and why.
I think for most people, they'd probably say medium, but honestly, I kind of felt like it was slow, especially the second half for me.
Gotcha. I said I found the pacing to be average in the beginning, like building up and like getting to know the characters. But it started to go very slow the further I dove into the book. I first read this book on my Kindle Paperwhite, but I felt like the story was never progressing. I'd see that like 10%, and like an hour later, it would say 11%. I'm like, this book is just not going anywhere. So I eventually moved to the physical so I can like physically see how many pages I had left. So I would say very
Yeah.
slow in my opinion. Um, Gwen thinks there is one in Nashville.
Okay, I thought so.
Um, and then the one she's talking about is in Georgia in Mild
Milledgeville.
Milledgeville.
Yeah.
Yes. Slow, very descriptive. I agree. It kind of felt like I don't know. It kind of felt like a Riley Sager trying to be like a Stephen King in a way. I don't know why. Like I
Yeah,
felt like I don't know. Like I think it's because it was so descriptive in a way in the pacing.
yeah, I agree.
First 100 pages were fast, then slowed down, picked up here and there, then ending. Yeah, I agree. I do feel like when I was like, gosh, this is really slow, and then it would pick back up a little bit, and then so kind of like a roller
Yeah,
coaster. But overall, I would say slow. And there goes my dogs barking.
it's okay.
No, they'll keep going. Listened to the audiobook and had to pick it up a few times because it was very descriptive on things. Yeah, agreed. So in a foggy atmosphere episode, had the physical and started following. I had the physical and started following along. Yeah, I was the same way. I was like, I feel like this percentage at the bottom of my Kindle is not turning numbers, and it was driving me crazy.
Yeah,
But I also feel like that with every book. So I was like, maybe it's just because I don't ever read on my Kindle, but I don't know. Um, would you say this book was more character driven or more plot driven, and why?
I found this question really hard because usually I can tell, but I think maybe it was a mix for me because I think when I read a more character-driven story, I feel like I get to know the characters more in depth and I'm more connected with them, or I'm supposed to be at least. And I don't feel like I was so heavily on that side because I felt like I knew the characters, but I still didn't know them like I wanted to. Like I didn't really ever feel fully connected, I guess
Yeah.
maybe. So, but then the plot was also kind of the driving force too, with like figuring out the bedtime stories for monsters and what was actually going on, like, that's
Mhm.
really what I cared about, finding out what was going on. So I think it's kind of a mix for me.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like this book was trying to be character driven, but again, I just never felt that connection with any of the characters, and especially Haven. Like I was just like, I feel like she's lacking something. But then
Yeah.
like I was like, okay, well maybe it's trying to be more plot driven. But then I was like, okay, I feel like we're talking about what we need to do, but we're still sitting around talking about what we need to do in a way.
Yeah.
So I would say it's trying to be one or the other, but it just was still a
It didn't
mixture
know
of
it.
the two.
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't go anywhere in my opinion. Definitely slow because I felt like I was reading a ton, but the pages weren't moving. Yes. Okay. So it's not just
Mhm.
me. The beginning sucked me in, and then I agree it took a turn as we got in the middle. I think character, okay. Keeping track of all the
That's
monsters.
true.
Huh?
I said that's true
Yeah.
with, like
And then like all the stories that the monsters were associated with, I agree. I should have made yeah, I told Gwen, I was like, I feel like this book is the one book I really needed to make a character list. And I don't ever but and she's famous for making character lists and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But I was already too far into the book. I was just like, no, I'm just gonna keep trucking along. I feel like it was trying to be
Mhm.
a character driven, but ended up being plot driven. I agree. And the thing is, I like more plot driven stories, but it was trying to be plot driven, but it was more character driven. So, do you have a preference on your stories?
Well, I thought that I did until I read Sally Hepworth. I thought I liked plot driven, but her books are more character driven, and I love
Oh,
those.
yeah.
So I guess
I
it just depends on who writes it and how it's done.
That's fair. That's fair. Agreed. I agree with Gwen. Yeah. Okay. Before I read this book, I heard several people mention that the audiobook was really good. Did you listen to the audiobook?
I did. So I physically read it and I listened to the audiobook at the same time because one,
Mhm.
I find it's a lot quicker for me to read that way.
Same.
Um, and I did really like the audiobook. Um, I think that so I wish I would have grabbed wait, I have this book on my no, it's on my other shelf. Dang. I wish I would have grabbed it. But the book A Cosmology of Monsters by Sean
Mhm.
Hamill that Gwen and I read, I listened to the audio for that and disregarding like what we thought about the story, the audiobook was done very, very well because it had a lot of sound effects and a lot of like eerie music in it. And I feel like even though I really liked this audiobook, I wish that stuff was in here because I feel like it would have fit really well. So I did not like this audiobook. I loved it, but I
Mhm.
feel like that would have added to it even more because there
Yeah.
was like creepy music at the beginning intro of the audiobook and then at the end, but there
Yeah.
was nothing throughout. So,
Yeah, I heard a lot of people talking about the audiobook's really good. I was like, "Oh, maybe it's like fully produced, sound effects, full cast or something like that." And then it starts with that really creepy, almost like black and white movie type
yeah.
horror music. I was like, "Oh, yes, here we go." And that was the creepy extra bonus part of it just saying Malice House by Megan Shepherd. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, that was it." But I think it's funny how you mentioned another monster book.
Mhm.
Compare that to. I didn't know it had like sound effects. Interesting.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Audiobook was epic. That was definitely would have been a plus, Keisha. Yeah, I agreed. Audiobook narrator of Malice House is Katie Scar for anyone interested. Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think this was just an average audiobook. It didn't do anything extra like that any other audiobook would have done, but it wasn't like the narrator was terrible. I felt
Yeah.
like she really did voice Haven and stuff like
Mhm.
that. But I do wish it was I don't know. I feel like I heard a lot of hype about the audiobook and I was like, "Oh, okay." And it was just okay.
Yeah.
So if anyone has heard the hype on the audiobook, it is just one person talking. It's nothing
Yeah.
extra. So, okay. So going into this book, did you have high expectations or low expectations, and were those met?
I had so oh gosh. So I feel like my expectations were on the higher end, but they were kinda leveled.
Mhm.
But I still feel like I had them because I wanted Home Before Dark.
Yeah.
I didn't get the Home Before Dark that like which you can't it's not the same book, but I wanted more of that. So
Mhm.
I feel like I should have known the direction it was gonna go, and I think I kinda did, but I was hoping that I would still, like, be in the mood for that direction, and I just wasn't. So I think I was let down by it because I wanted it to be different than what it was.
Yeah.
Um,
I did not have any expectations, because again, I, like, avoided picking up this book at the store so much, and then when you sent it over, I was like, "Okay, well, I have to read what this book is about," and I was
mhm.
like, "Ooh, this sounds great," and I think that was the only time I, like, really read the synopsis, so
Yeah.
once it was time to read, I was like, "I have no idea what this book's about. I know there's monsters, I know there might be a haunted house," so I went in with no expectations, but then I was like, "Okay, this is kinda reading like Riley Sager in a way, so maybe it's gonna be just as good," and I was also getting, like, Hidden Picture vibes, um, but no. So, I mean, I wasn't disappointed in what as far as, like, expectation-wise.
Yeah.
because I went in
I
with
think
no
it's hard when you
expectations.
see like, so Olivia and Lauren and Elizabeth all read this book prior
Mm,
to me, and they all gave it 4 stars. So, my expectations were higher because they all rated it 4 stars.
yeah.
So, I don't know. I felt like the whole time I was like, it's either gonna be a 3 or it's gonna be a 5. Like, I felt like that the whole time, just depending on
Mhm.
how it went. So,
Okay. Yeah. Summer exclusively read this on audio. I think the narration was well done, but I think it would have been, I think I would have liked the physical read to physically read it to keep track of all the monsters and books within a book a little bit better.
yes, that was so confusing because, like, the different stories were told at different times, and I was like,
Yeah.
"What is going on?" They combined, but not, like, really well, so
Mhm. Exactly. This was a 5-star prediction for me, so I was a little let down. Okay. Well, you still gave it 3.5, so that's still good. I read it physically with the audio, and the audio kind of ruined it for me. Oh, interesting. I would love to know why. That's
yeah.
interesting. Great Summer. The monster story snippets at the beginning of the chapters was confusing, and if you don't have the physical book, also if you have the Kindle, and the print is like normal print, but the story is microscopic.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so if you don't have the audiobook, you have to like zoom in really big and then zoom back out, or you just have to trust that audiobook is reading what it's supposed to. So
Yeah.
I only picked it up for the discussion, so no expectations here. I'm just happy you have read 2 of my book club picks, Gwen, because you did not do that last year. So I'm just so proud. Same Gwen, same. Hey Lauren, we were just talking about
Hey.
you. Uh, I'm late putting my girls down for bed. I knew Lauren had read this book, but I didn't know Liv and who else did you mention?
Elizabeth from Tiny
Elizabeth.
Tales of
Yes.
Paperbacks, yeah.
I didn't know that they had read that, but I knew Lauren had read it. Didn't have any expectations, only knew it was a possible haunted house book. I'm always scared of getting spoiled by reading. Yeah, I feel like lately synopses are like spoiling the crap out of things.
Yeah.
It didn't give me any energy, just fell flat and I was zoning out a lot. Okay, I will agree with that. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so out of all the bedtime stories for monsters, we have Beast of Suns, Extremities, Decaylings, excuse me, Sweet Cream, Kaleidoscope, Sundown Coming, Everyone's Favorite Uncle, and Late Fees. Was there a specific story that you were most interested in or that you liked more than any others?
We're gonna have the same answer for this. How much you wanna bet?
Okay.
Um, I'm not gonna say, like, it's the specific story, but it's the element of the story that I liked.
Okay. What is
So,
it?
Kaleidoscope.
Okay.
Because of the, like, trippy, like,
Yeah.
she would try to go one place and then it would turn around, like, that's scary to me, like,
Yeah.
just being trapped, and I don't know, I really like that, and I liked the witch,
Mhm.
who was a part of that, so, I don't know, which she was in a little bit of all the stories, but those are, like, that kind of combination, but I really like the trippiness of, like, when she went in the forest and she was trying to go to Rafe's house, and then she
Mhm.
was, like, ended up in the
Yes.
other direction. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I would freak out." So,
Yes. Okay. So I think my rating's going to show a little bit, but I honestly stopped paying attention to the stories.
I kinda
um,
did too.
yeah, like I was just like, I don't know if these stories have anything to do with like getting to the end. But if I had to pick, it was going to be Kaleidoscope, mostly because of that scene where she was trying to get to Rafe's house. Like, because that just like really creeped me out too, as well.
Yeah.
Are we like the same person tonight? Like, what is going on?
I I had talked to Gwen about my thoughts about this book before, and she would not tell me anything about yours, and I said, "I really feel like me and Jesse are gonna be on similar pages about this book," and now
Probably
it's
why. She
showing.
probably knew too that
Yeah.
we would have the same answers. She probably was like, "Oh, this will be fun. They'll have the same answers." And let's see. I picked up this book after Lauren's recommendations and after reading Hidden Pictures. Nice. Really wanted to love it. Was it the story or the audiobook that fell flat? Okay. And I think she said the audiobook.
Mm.
The Witch. Yeah, I liked the Witch one. I skipped around at some points. It did feel too long, but still enjoyed it. I loved Uncle Tom. Creepy. Yeah, I think that was the other one that stuck out to me was that one.
Yeah.
Um, but I
I did
think
not like him at all. He gave
no.
me the heebie-jeebies. Oh,
Like I hated that I liked that story, but yeah.
yeah.
Also the
I know
harbinger.
we're gonna get into characters in a minute, so
Yeah, exactly. I like the Witch. I think it's been a while since I've read this one. Yeah, I feel like the Witch was a harbinger. I feel like I'm saying that wrong, but oh well.
Harbinger.
Harbinger.
Harbinger,
Yes.
yeah.
I can hear it in my head, but I just can't put
I
it with
understand, I'm the same way.
it. The scene where she found Kylie in a ran on the table, that was crazy. Yeah, I
Yeah.
agree. That was a crazy one as well. Agreed. I gasp. All the dog collars and the fire was
Oh my
weird.
gosh.
Yeah, I was just
I
like,
feel like that was so pointless too. I mean, I get why, but, like,
yeah,
I just felt like that was so pointless.
yeah, I agree. And again, it doesn't like show anything that happened to the dogs. It just mentions
No.
it. But
It's just
yeah, I
like,
agree
"Oh,
with
well, that
you.
guy was crazy. He was killing dogs, so he's probably killing people, so, we got
Yeah.
rid of him, and now here I am." Like, okay.
I loved them all and kept wishing there was really an illustrated bedtime. Yeah, I feel like she
Yeah.
should try to do something like that because that would be
I
really
think with
cool.
having that many stories, you needed illustrations so you can kind of visualize what was going on because it was just
Yeah,
way too much to keep up with.
exactly. Yeah. And I would really like to know how she drew Pinchy, which was another one of the
Yes.
monsters. Keisha, that was the best way to describe it. I didn't like Uncle Tom.
No.
I thought if someone saying something and controlling your mind was crazy.
That's
Yeah,
true. Yeah.
yeah, we didn't need that. True's really so scary. Rafe was also there for, and if she created a thing that took his body, why not stay with him? We will get into that.
Mhm.
I wonder if the author will make that happen. If it's the illustrations, I hope so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like to know if my vision of these monsters were even close. True. Especially because like she was drawing these monsters without like fully being aware of how like it was like her like out of body experience in a way.
Mhm.
Yes, I wanted to know what Pinchy looked like.
Is it bad that, like, the only thing I could envision Pinchy as was, like, the Pokemon, like, is it
Yes,
like
I was thinking the same thing. I know
we're the
nothing
same
about
person.
Pokemon, but like I can picture which one
But
you're
that's
talking
not
about.
scary. It's just, like, that's what I was thinking was, like, a giant crab, and I was like,
Yeah,
"Why am I thinking about Pokemon?"
that's so funny. Okay. So characters, there was quite a few.
Mhm.
This question was actually submitted by Sandra, who's here from Discord, and she asked what we thought of the ink drinkers and their part containing the incidents happening in Malice House in the seaside community.
I get it. Like, I get like, if you knew that this man was responsible for the stuff that was happening in the town, I mean, like, would you not react? And maybe, I don't know, I'm not like confrontational like that, so maybe I wouldn't react that way, but it makes sense to me, even
Mhm.
though I hated what they were doing. Like, they were scared, so that was their response to try to protect themselves and protect the town. But, like, I don't know. That's the only real thought I have about it is, like, I get it, but I still hated them.
Yeah. That was how I was. I was like, I don't trust them from the beginning. They have like there's some kind of motive that they're behind. They're not being
Yeah.
100% truthful. That was very obvious from the beginning. And then once you kind of like figure out that they were scared, they were trying to, prevent stuff. I was just like, okay, I get that, but I still don't like you and trust you.
Yeah.
Like, am I supposed to be sorry for not trusting you? Like, I don't know. I just,
The only one that I could even remotely like was Ronan, and I still didn't like him much, but he was kinda more redeemable.
yeah, out of all of them, I hated Catherine the most.
Oh, yeah. I pictured her as Professor Umbridge from Harry Potter, like, that's how much I hated her.
I didn't picture her like that, but I can
But
see what you're
well,
talking
like
about.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't stand it.
Mhm.
That's a
That was the feelings that
that's a
were
whole
evoked.
rant on its own about
Yeah, I know.
professional athletes. I can't stand her. Pokemon, yes. That would have been an awesome thing about books if we can read the same thing and visualize the story so differently. Yeah. Pokemon. I thought you were about to say Mr.
Mr.
Krabs.
Krabs. No.
Money, 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 money.
I love Mr. Krabs. I would never put him in a similar conversation with Pinchy.
Concept of the guy killing and burning dogs was the most horrifying part to me, to be honest. Dog killers are scarier than yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I kept picturing Mr. Krabs when he grows out of his shell.
Oh my gosh. Ew, yes. No. Did you watch SpongeBob?
I did, but I don't know. Cannot picture him growing out of his shell.
I'll see if I can find a picture of it on
That
Google
is
for
so
anybody who
funny.
didn't grow up with SpongeBob like I did.
I get what they were trying to do, but killing people is cray cray. Yeah. Very simple. Simply said, I mean. I love how she ended up with a sister after all that family monster drama. Very true. Ew. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I
Yes.
can see that, and that's disgusting. Oh.
I posted a picture of what I envision Pinchy to look like in Discord. Oh, okay. Hang on.
Oh my goodness.
Um,
Oh my gosh, that is not what I envisioned Pinchy to look like. Did you find
that
it
is
yet? You can show it. What
like
even is that? Is that like a video game monster?
I have no idea. But yeah, I pictured like a scarier version of the Pokemon
Yeah, that makes sense though.
crab looking thing. I agree about Ronan. He was probably the most redeemable. I agree. So true. I just saw it. Yes. That's from a video game that you play. I wonder what it's called. I don't know.
Yeah, let us
That's
know.
scary. I don't want to know. Okay, so the next question, I haven't seen them in the chat, but this was submitted by Sam Fox from Discord, and they asked, which character do we like the most and the least? It could be human or non-human.
So the one that I like the most, so realistically, like I didn't really love any EverQuest. Interesting. I didn't really love any of the characters. Even Haven, like I liked her, but I didn't connect like emotionally and empathetically or anything with any of the characters. But if I
Mhm,
had to pick one that I was intrigued the most by and interested in, it was Rafe,
mhm.
like slash the Harbinger.
Yeah,
Um, just because I don't know. It's one of those situations where you're not supposed to like somebody, but you do. Like
yeah,
he's the villain, but you're like, but he's probably hot. Like
yeah,
that's what I was doing in my
yeah.
head. So he's
I
the one I like the most.
yeah. So my favorite, actually, I scrolled down too far. My favorite was between Wraith and Kylie.
Yeah.
But similar for Wraith and like different reasons for Kylie. Um, if you know me, my like celebrity crush that's not Ryan Reynolds, that's my second one. It is Loki, not the actor, but it's Loki himself, like that like dark and mysterious, but like villain, hot. So that's what I pictured Rafe to look like.
I
So
love that.
I put Rafe was dark and mysterious, love interest. I knew he couldn't be trusted, but I loved how his story went and that he was the harbinger and like I
Did you
love
want her to stay with him?
part of me did, but I think that's just because like I'm like a hopeless romantic sometimes, but like
Yeah.
also like I understand why not.
But like she is like him, you
Mhm.
know? So why not just figure it all out together, you know? Like, I don't know.
Just ride off into the kaleidoscope sunset, you know?
Yeah.
Let's see. And then for Kylie, I found her to be very annoying, but when She went and got a towel, but she knew where the towels were because they weren't in the norm. I was like, okay, I'm keeping my eye on you. And then to find out that she was a fan when she said she did not like her father's
Mhm.
wife. Then to find out she was a sister, which I felt like it was kind of an inconvenient like plot twist, but like I was like, okay, so this is like a sisterly bond relationship that we're going with. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
And
Um,
it wasn't surprising to me, but it
mhm.
was like, I didn't expect it, but it was more like a, "Oh, okay," type
Yeah.
twist, not like a, "Oh, what?" It was just
Yeah.
like a
I
lesson.
feel like a lot of those twists were like, "Oh, okay."
Yes, I
Yeah.
agree.
I never, like, gasp, except for the dog collar thing, but yeah.
And that wasn't even a twist.
No,
That was
I
just
was
a,
just like, "Oh
"Oh."
my gosh, you horrible person."
Yes.
That's when I was like, "Okay, I really don't like Rafe. I don't care how hot he is or the chemistry, I don't like him, no." But then come to find out
Yeah.
all the
Rafe did it, but not Harbinger Rafe.
Yes, exactly. Honestly wish she could have ended up with him. We love a bad
What is
boy.
wrong with us?
Same Summer. Rafe was a favorite. Yes, Summer, they always have been my downfall. Yeah, I was really intrigued by Rafe. Yes, I'm telling you, I love him. Is it bad that I like the romance with Rafe? No, it's
I did
not
too.
bad. Legit was rooting for some romance. Yeah, agreed. Uncle Tom was the worst for me. Yeah. Excuse me. Was anyone sus of Kylie? I was at first. Yeah, I was. I just I was like, I feel like everyone wants a stupid manuscript, but not Kylie for some reason.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
was
no,
just kind of along for the ride, so I don't think I was ever actually suspicious, but,
mhm,
like, again, it wasn't surprising
yeah.
anything that kind of came out of it.
I was like, well, maybe she's trying to approach Haven differently since everyone's like trying to get this. Maybe she's like doing like reverse psychology to get the manuscript and everything like that. So she's like,
Yeah.
okay. It's February. We're all rooting for romance. Yeah, love is in the air, whether it's in romance books or a fantasy seaside gothic creepy cozy town. I was super suspicious of Kylie. Kylie was sketchy. I called the sister thing when she grabbed the towel, you know too much. Yeah,
Mhm.
I agree. This isn't really related to what we're talking about, but I really didn't like the weird reality distortion stuff that happened. It felt like a cop out to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, talking about the towel thing with Kylie, I thought not I said I wasn't suspicious, but the thought crossed my mind, not the sister thing, but more of a really weird age gap of he's had all these affairs, so maybe she was one of his mistresses. That was more along the lines of
Oh,
what, even though they
okay.
were so different, and I mean, like,
Mhm.
she's the same age as his daughter, so that would have been kind of weird, but
Yeah.
people do that, so
Yeah. That is true. They get their own reality TV show too.
yep.
It's been a while, but didn't the witch and the harbinger have a thing going on? I must have missed that.
I think they had like a deal or something
Yeah.
like that but I don't know if it was romantic. I just think it was like a deal that they had to see through, and then once
Mhm.
they did, they went separate ways.
Yeah. Suspected Kylie too, but I like the direction it went with her. I agree. Glad she ended up with a sister in the end.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing. I thought the same
Yeah.
thing. Okay, so we talked about Rafe and we talked about Kylie. I know you said like Haven, you didn't really have like a connection or connected with her.
Yeah.
I was the same way. I felt like something was just off or lacking in her character for her to be the main character.
Mhm.
Did you have any other thoughts about Haven, or is that about it?
Mm, she was just like an average character for me. I don't know, like, I don't really have any thoughts because I feel like I didn't dislike her, but I didn't love her, so she's just kinda average. I don't know.
Oh, I want
I
to
thought I
make.
mean, just oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, I would like that she illustrated. I like that she was an artist and that's what she wanted to do, and that she, like, constantly put herself out there to try to, be able to follow her dreams of being an
Mhm.
artist, an illustrator or whatever. So I did like that side of her and that she was a creative person. But outside of that, I don't feel like I really got to know her in depth enough to care
Mhm.
more about her than that.
Yeah. I was gonna say I was talking to Lena because she couldn't be here tonight, or she was going to try. I'm not sure. What did she say? Um, oh, she's about Haven. She's like, and then she was like, "Oh, I'm a monster. Cool, okay," and then moved on with her life.
Oh, yeah.
Like nobody would have reacted that way.
Well, she had, like, that initial shock, but then it
Yeah,
was like, she just yeah, like you said, she just went
yeah.
on.
Like I
No.
could not imagine. Like if you would have told me I'm like a mermaid,
Yeah.
like no, I'm not gonna move on with my life. First
No.
of all, I want to prove you wrong by jumping in the ocean.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I think I feel like she should have been a little more shocked, or that could have been like more of a
Yeah.
turning point for her in a way. But
I do think that was probably the most interesting part of the story is that
yeah,
she ended up being one of his
mhm,
creations. I
yeah,
do like that. That was
yeah.
interesting.
I would say that's probably the biggest shock or twist, in my opinion, that I did not see coming.
Yeah.
Again, I didn't like gasp
Same.
thing. They also thought affair. Haven annoyed the heck out of me sometimes. I liked her name.
Yeah.
I think Gwen also said she liked her name. I feel like maybe if I had more background on her, I would have known her
Yeah.
more. But once she got to the house, it was all about that book.
Well,
Yeah.
even learning about, like, her relationship with the guy that she was with was like, they mentioned it so many times, and then when they finally revealed it, it wasn't like there wasn't enough there. Like, I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, she was in a bad rela I don't know.
Yeah. And you never found out exactly like what happened to Baker, like afterwards, in a way. Like, you know?
Yeah, like, where did he go?
Hmm. I was shocked when I found out that how she was created, but hard for me to label her as a monster. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, the characters in the story were like some of them were like people, like the
Mhm.
Harbinger was a person. It's just like sometimes people wait. Let me do this. I was like, I don't know if I'll ever even be able to bring this up in conversation. Somebody's gonna kill me. I don't do this, but I do you see what I did to this book? And I don't do that. I don't. I really don't, but I'm not gonna keep this. So anyways, okay. So, I like this quote that, and it's about monsters when Rafe was talking to Haven. It's on page 351 if anybody's curious, but he's um, he says, "Tell me this: if regular people are so innocent, then why do they pay so dearly for your recaps?" Talking about the VHS things. Why are regular people unable to stomach horror movies but are still desperate to know what happens in them? It's because everyone needs that darkness haven. Even the ones who can't bear to face it still crave it. Maybe them most of all. Everyone has a beast inside them that needs to be fed. So, like, I just liked that line, just thinking
Yeah.
about like, that's such an interesting thought about people because it was talking about them going back into the world, like them being a part of this world now, like the
Mhm.
monsters and everything. And just that thought of like like me, like I don't like horror movies, but I still want to know what happens. It's just that
Mhm.
thing inside of us. Like I just thought that was really interesting. So
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Haven was like Bella in Twilight for her.
Oh my goodness. I could see that
Yeah.
kind of.
Oh, you're a sparkly vampire who
Maybe
kills
not as
people?
fragile. I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like he's
Or,
kind of fragile.
the stereotypical Bella.
Yeah.
Kate, I love that comparison. Gwen is shocked of what you did to your pages.
I know. I don't do that.
You know it felt good though.
I did it was a very small dog ear, and I was like, "It's not gonna be my book for much longer anyways." I'm spoiling myself over here, but it's okay.
I'm sad on 2 accounts that you dog ear and that you're getting rid of the book.
I don't usually dog ear, just so
Yeah.
we're clear. I won't
I'm
do
not
it.
opposed to it. It's not my favorite, but I'll do it. But if I do, it's like super teeny tiny.
Yeah.
Saying Twilight reminded me of a review that I read that mentioned this was her first adult novel and it was still bordering a Y on Y. Yeah, I can agree.
Yeah.
I think that's another reason why I thought of the Hazelwood so much because that's a YA
Mhm.
series. So yeah, I loved Bella as a teen, but now I'm older. I'm like, OMG, she's so whiny.
Yeah.
That whole franchise is on its own
Cringe.
level. Yeah. I know this one is kind of a stretch, but any thoughts on Haven's father?
I I wish we would have gotten to know him a little bit more or had more glimpses of him, because I feel like I really would have liked him. And I think it's so sad that they, like, Dahlia, however her name is pronounced, killed him. Like, they had her kill him. I was like, "Excuse me?" Which is, I mean, it wasn't that shocking, but it just was,
Mhm.
I don't know. I just this is like a pondersome thing. Like, I'm sitting here like, I mean, how would you feel to be a person that is passionate about writing, but when you write things,
It comes to life.
it comes to life? Like, you
Yeah.
can't, I don't know.
I agree. I put to keep the length of the book. I feel like if we got like point of view chapters of Haven's father, like, you know, being in the house and being crazy or suffering with
Mhm.
dementia or something like that, I feel like that would have been awesome in my opinion. And we would,
Yeah.
because I mean, for all I know is like he's just Haven's father who was an author.
He was a plot convenience.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. But I feel like if we kind of like got a glimpse of his like final days before everything happened, I feel like that would
Yeah.
have been.
Even more journal entries from him,
Mhm,
'cause I feel like that's where you
exactly.
got to know him.
Mhm. Let's see. I saw a comment that was so funny. I mean, I used to dog ear when I was younger, but I can't bring myself to do it anymore. Lane is here. I've mentioned you
What?
several times. But glad you're here. If you saw that one on Pango, I'm buying it because you dog tagged it. So that's funny. Go ahead and tell those lovely girls that they need book darts. We
They're on
need.
my wish list.
You can buy them for. I'm not like big on annotating. I want to be that person, but I
Yeah.
feel like I'm pausing too long to like put a sticky note or something like
Yeah.
that.
That was literally the only thing I marked, so
Yeah. Well, I mean, you did more than I did. With like more background on him, mentioning book darts, you sent me a bunch of them today instead of dog earring and tabbing.
you switch.
The author should write his story next. I feel like she should write the actual bedtime stories with illustrations more, but I get that. This book, I have so many thoughts. Well, we're almost at the end, but feel free to like give us
Go
everything.
ahead and just tell us everything,
Yeah,
yeah.
tell us everything. She teaches ballet, I believe. His point of view wouldn't have been great. I feel like the final days, like even like a prologue of his like final days before he was killed would have been cool at
Yeah.
least. Haven't thought about that, Keisha. How horrible would it be to be passionate about writing, but everything coming to life? Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. Hello, hello, cheers. Okay. So we mentioned Rafe, we mentioned Kylie. Any of the other townspeople, like the detective, Catherine, Jonathan, Rowan, any?
I didn't really care for, like, the detective was such a random character, like, I didn't even think, I mean, I didn't, it didn't surprise me when she caught them in the bookstore that she was, like, one of the ink drinkers or whatever, but
Mhm,
I felt, I don't know, I just didn't, that was such a random, I don't know, I had no thoughts or feelings towards that character at
mhm,
all. Hated Catherine. Jonathan was annoying too, but, like, I hated when Catherine showed up after she got out of the forest and found those 2 dead bodies, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, honey, I'm so sorry. Let me take you home." I was like, "Woman, you better go. Like, just don't." Like,
mhm.
it just annoyed me.
She was like a southern version of Umbridge in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Mhm.
agree. Yeah, I honestly I got Rowan and Jonathan mixed up a lot. And I also think because there was a lot of characters that started with the letter R. Like you had Rafe, Rowan, I think it was it Detective Rice, I think was her
Mhm.
name. So I was like, there's a lot of R names, but I eventually like got
Yeah.
got it all straight in my head. Lena also hated all the
Yeah.
characters. A graphic novel series of each character could have been have their
And
own
their
volume.
stories,
That would
yeah.
be really cool. Um, yeah, I
He worked in the bookstore cafe thing.
yeah, but I also found him kind of forgettable. That's like
Oh,
when,
yeah.
like when people like when she found Kylie and this person, I was just like, okay, there's Kylie. Let me go save her. But yeah,
Mhm.
never figured that out. Yeah, I think he was just kind of a pointless character in my opinion.
Yeah.
Tell us how you really feel. Okay. So, any thoughts on the ending? Any plot twists that stood out to you that we haven't discussed already? Anything else you want to mention about how the book ended before we get to our final ratings?
I liked the reveal of Rafe, like when she saw the scar, and it was just like which I mean, it wasn't surprising to me, but I just like that whole unraveling of her realizing who it was. And
Mhm.
I mean, just imagine your whole world come crashing down. You like this guy, you were suspicious of him, but then you find this out, and it's like, what do I do now? You should have
Exactly.
went with him.
I also thought, like, when we found out that, like, her drawings were coming true, I was like, "Oh, she drew a picture of Rafe and left that, like, in that note." I was like, "Oh my gosh, is there gonna be, like, another one?" Or, like, like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, none
Yes.
of the twists really shocked me. Um, Shell characters to me were just yeah, I
Yeah.
agree.
That's a great way to put it. They were just a shell. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, the shell of Mr. Krabs, right?
Yeah.
So like Haven's backstory with her husband was just fluff, not needed. She built it up like it was really a big
Mhm.
thing. And yeah, I agree. Like I was kind of hoping like her husband, or even though they weren't really married, I was like,
Yeah.
I wonder if he like when he came to visit her father, if there was ever something like if he's
Yeah.
behind anything or if he was ever going to make an appearance.
Here's the deal, and I don't know that this is gonna make any sense. I liked her writing, and I think it was really good, and even though I felt like the book was slow, it 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 okay, this makes no sense. I felt like the book was slow, but her writing read really easy, maybe that's the way to put it, and I feel like I liked the concepts, but I didn't really like the execution as much as I would have wanted to. Just like what Summer just said about, like, she created a lot of fluff with the husband backstory, and there was just elements of it that I'm like, was she the right person to write this story? Like, I recognize that she's a good writer, and that's what she writes. I mean, her other books are horror fantasy too, but I don't know if she does it to the extent that I enjoy stuff like that.
Yeah, I agree.
And I feel like that's such a trivial thing to say because I really liked her writing, but I just don't know that she just didn't execute this
Yeah.
how I would have wanted it, I
Like you said,
guess,
like
the
her
best way.
writing is easy to follow. Well, I wouldn't say follow along because I got kind of confused quite a bit.
Yeah.
I would say like it's easy to read in a way, but like you said, the
Yeah.
execution was lacking there.
Yeah.
All the characters die. Why didn't she stay in town and rebuild her home? That would have just been too easy.
Yeah.
There's my answer. I hate when there's a long monologue detailing the whole ending and wrapping everything up, and I feel like the book did that twice. Yeah, I agree. I know you hate that because I also hate that. The end fight scene felt really too long. I just didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like when there's 100 extra pages after your reveals, and that's what it felt like. I'm just like,
Yeah.
"Okay, but no, you wrap it up after you reveal because 'cause I'm
Mhm.
uninterested after that."
Is anyone else wondering how how slow the house seemed to be burning? And yeah, I agree. But I
Yeah.
also feel like again, it's the book like where the pages really aren't moving. You're just stuck in one place.
Yeah.
Slow as molasses. Yeah, exactly. Um, didn't understand who Rafe was. He's a monster too,
Like a
right? Yeah.
harbinger. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Someone just texted me asking me if I want to go ice skating. Not tonight. Anyone else think that the Haven's ex was somehow behind every yeah, I think I just said that, but yeah,
Yeah.
I was kinda hoping, like, 'cause like, her husband was just mentioned so much. I was like, "Okay, I think this is like a breadcrumb," but
Yep.
it was literally for nothing. Like, she could literally have never been married and would have made more sense in my opinion. Great story, bad execution. Feel like the big reveal of her being created should have been towards the end instead of 75% through. I kept expecting more at the end and felt like, yeah, I agree. I kind of felt
Mhm.
like that would have been more shocking at the end. Good point. Good point. But if that's the case, that is cool because it does leave the door open for you to maybe try her other books. Yeah. Yeah. Felt long, ending too long. We all agree. Yes, reveal after reveal after reveal, and it just kept rolling my eyes. Definitely going to try more from her. I'm not opposed. I know I'm answering this question early, but
That's
I'm not
okay.
opposed to reading more of her books.
I don't know that I will, just because I feel like there's so many more books and authors that I want to read. I don't feel like
Mhm.
she would be a priority in anybody I want to add because I'm trying to really stick to the ones I really want to get to. So,
Yeah, very true. Such a crave story, but I'm excited to see what else she does. Yeah, I'll give her like one more try, which is kind of shocking when you find out later.
The Madman's Daughter is like her biggest book, and that I had a coworker that read that book. That's how I knew her as an author. But it's a duology. There's two books, but it's the same like horror fantasy. But my coworker, that's like her favorite book of all time.
Gotcha. I
Um,
just wrote that down so that way I can
yeah.
look that one up too. Um, all of his work playing out. Keisha's silence means no. Keisha's grin. I agree, Lauren. Excited to see what she does next. Right. Agree. Okay, I don't think I'll go back and read another of her YA, but I will check. Yeah, I would. I want to check this one out because, like you said, it's what she's
Yeah.
more known for. But
I think it is YA though.
yeah. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm stepping out of my comfort zone, like I said at the beginning.
There
But
are some YA, like I don't like a lot of YA, but I like a lot of YA horror. So,
yeah. Okay. Okay. Alrighty. So, did you have any additional questions, or I think we covered everything? But is there
yeah, we
anything
did.
else? You're good. Okay. So, what is your final star rating?
Okay. So, I didn't not like the book. Okay, I liked the book, but at the end, I just felt like I didn't care anymore, and I was just trying to get through with it. But
Mhm,
I sometimes when I rate books, I go off of full feeling, and sometimes when I rate books, like that means I'm going to give it like the best rating. Sometimes it means I'm going to give it the worst, and then there are those few times where I'm like, I do see the merit in this book. It just wasn't for me. And I don't think I like cosmic horror or fantasy horror anymore. I think I did at one point in time, but because of that, I think I was deciding between a 2 or a 3, but I'm going to go with a low 3 because I do think it was a good book. And I think that people that like fantasy horror will like it, but I
mhm.
just didn't like it's not I think it was good, but it's just not my kind of book. You know what I mean?
Okay. So, at after I finished this book, I wanted to give it 1 star.
Oh my god.
But I think after discussing it, it wasn't that bad. I did not like it, unfortunately, but I think I am going to stick to a 2 just because, like, after talking to you, talking to everyone else, I was like, okay, it's not the worst book I've read. Like, I don't think it's deserving of a 1 star.
Yeah.
So
And it's
I'm
an
gonna leave
interesting
that.
concept.
Yes. Like you said, like the story, I feel like the overall story was good. The execution was not that great. Of course, there's unlikable characters, but I am going to stick with a 2 star. So yeah.
Yeah. That was what I expected you to rate it. Like, my prediction was you to rate it a 2.
Oh, well, when I finished it on reading sprints, I was trying so hard not to give anything away. I was like, 1 star, 1 star.
Yeah. Aw.
But I think it's just, I will say, I think it's my least favorite of the year. So that's probably why. I mean, it's only the end of February. So,
Yeah.
um, but I will say it's probably my least favorite of the year, but I don't think it deserves 1 star in my opinion. Now
Yeah.
that I've talked about it and like had it sit with me for a few days. So
Do you think it's because it was more of like a monster fantasy type story versus like a like like person is a monstrous being versus like
yeah,
actual monsters? Yeah.
I think, yeah, I would say was talking to Lena this morning. Let me pull up her message because I said it too. Um, I also think I don't like retellings or fairy tales in my horror or
Mhm.
thrillers or anything like that. I did like the Hazelwood, but of course I was reading YA fantasy
Same.
the day. But now I'm like, no, I don't like that.
See, I feel like I'm having one of those moments where I read Guernsey again, the Guernsey
Mhm.
Literary
Yeah.
Potato Pie Society, and I didn't like it anymore. So I'm
Mhm.
like, I will never reread this because I don't think I like this kind of story
Yeah.
anymore. But this was a 5-star when I read it.
Yeah. I think I gave it 4 stars, but I never picked up anything else in the series.
Yeah.
But I feel like that one did better of a job as far as like
Oh,
this
I
like
agree.
books or like stories coming to life in a way.
Mhm.
But yeah, not a 1 star, I promise. I'm gonna go with 2. I think I was just talking in the moment, and after reevaluating and talking with everyone, I was like, okay, it's not deserving of 1 star.
Yeah.
um yeah. Oh man, yeah. And then Sandra said a low 3.
Yeah, that's me.
Let's see. There was quite a few. I feel like everyone's commented before. So yeah, I think Keisha rated it too. So you were surprised because she gave a 3.
Because I feel like it deserves it.
Yeah, I feel like we kind of agree like on the same reasoning why it should be more or like 1 star more.
It's not gonna be memorable for me. I'll forget about this by
Yeah,
the end of the year.
and like
So,
you said, we're not. It's not staying on our bookshelf. So
nope, it's going on Pango sometime.
that's probably why you dog eared it because you're like,
Yep,
oh,
it is. That's why, because I knew I wasn't gonna keep it. Sorry, Gwen, because she gifted it to me. I love you.
I'm definitely not the target audience for this book. So I think that, yeah, I agree. I agree. That's why I was like, this is different. I don't read fantasy, but like I'm really excited to read it. So I gave it a shot. I only picked it up for the discussion. 100% my rating is because it was monsters.
Yeah.
Not a fantasy reader. So I wasn't into that part of the
If
story.
I'm ever adding a book to my TBR and y'all see it and it's gonna end in monsters, please tell me that I'm not gonna like it because I just don't think that I like that anymore. And I want
Yeah,
to know that so I'm not disappointed and wasting my time.
I'll keep that in mind. It's, it's having a reading shift. I
I
love how you
am.
figure out what you like. I feel like we're always evolving in our reading taste.
True.
I read November Mood Reader. For reading now, it's probably so maybe a 1 star. Interesting. Don't like fantasy, but I think it was a good monster story. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Um, Same for what Keisha said. Save me from myself.
Yep.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being my co-host for February. Even though we both did not love this book, I feel like this was such a
Yeah.
great like discussion, very different than what I normally read. And I officially know that maybe I should not have picked this book, but
Yeah.
I'm glad
But
that
it
we
made for a
read it.
good discussion. I do
Yeah,
think it was like I enjoyed talking about it. Sometimes when you read a book you don't like, that makes it even better to talk about too. So I don't know.
right. Exactly, exactly. And now I have more because this is very different than what I normally read. So I feel like even though I didn't like it, if someone does like monsters or stuff like that, I feel like I can add that to a recommendation for
Yeah.
someone out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you so much. I'm so glad. And we both
Yeah.
got to twin with our
I
shirts. I'm
know.
so
I
excited.
love it. Yeah. Thank you
Um,
for asking me too. This was so much fun.
Of course. I'm so excited. So next month, everyone will be the March pick. In case you didn't know, we are reading The Villa by Rachel Hawkins. And my co-host will be Jordan from Sorry Book Solid. It's funny because she was my co-host last March too. So I think she rightfully gets the March pick for here on out. But the book club discussion will be on March 28th, 8 p.m. Eastern. I'm trying to do the last Thursday of every month, unless an author agrees to come on here. Then I'm like, I will do it any day of the month for you.
Yeah.
So, as always, the link for Discord is down below. Make sure you go check that out for more details. I also have finalized the April, May, and June co-hosts and book picks. So I will be announcing that in March. Very, very.
Yay.
So I'm very excited. I actually have everything up until July, and then I have my host for August. We just don't have a book yet. So, but yeah, I'm excited. So good things are coming. Keisha, what if the monsters were missing?
Oh, y'all are never gonna let me live that down. Guess what? My bed does not have a headboard. Just saying.
Mine either. That's so weird.
I will say, so I read Belladonna, which is
Mhm,
a YA fantasy, and there's like death in that story, and there's kind of like a romance between like death and the main character potentially. I do like that kind of story,
mhm,
like the dark romance with that, but not like, and I did like Rafe, okay, and he was still like a man, but
mhm.
I don't know, the whole general monster thing, I don't know.
Yeah, that's understandable. Got my copy of The Villa because I see what you picked. Yes, watch it from the beginning. I feel like it was very consistent from start to finish, in my opinion. So
Yeah.
you'll have to let me know. I will never be able to look at a bed the same way after Verity.
I
It's so
cannot deal.
funny. I do not remember the headboard until I reread it.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of which, I know this will be on my
Gwen, sorry.
I thought it was been by Keisha.
No, I will not use it for the purposes that it was used in that book.
I
Gross.
reread Verity in the month of February. 5 stars. But I read the bonus chapter, and I kid you not, it was a 1 star read.
Oh my
That extra
god.
bonus chapter completely ruined the book for me.
Yeah,
So
I'm not
being
gonna read it.
honest,
Y'all are
it
always picking on me.
go go found
Go
me a
fund me. Edward.
tell me who to Venmo. That's hilarious. All right, we'll go ahead and end for the night. Thank you guys for showing up, and I cannot wait to bring this back in March and announce all the picks. But again, thank you to Keisha. Make sure you go subscribe, go follow her, go follow me, go join Discord, all the fun stuff. Yeah, it complete trash, complete trash. Complete with some teeth marks already on. All right, we'll go ahead and end so Keisha doesn't keep getting bullied about this. But thank you so much, and I guess we will talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Bye.